Hey there guys, welcome back to Harman Art TV. So in today's video I thought I'd talk about 4 ways art contributes to society. Yeah, let's get to this. So number 1 on my list is that art can introduce new ideas. So I think that could be things like, you know, aesthetics. Like, firstly, art is a very visual subject. Like, for me as an artist, when I look at art, the first thing I see is like how it looks. I look at the form, I look at the color, and obviously by looking at those features, I'm left to make up in my mind about what I'm kind of seeing. So for this reason, I think aesthetics can help to introduce new ideas into this world, because sometimes I might see a form or see like a sculptural painting that gets me to question things and look at things differently. Art can introduce new visions into the world. Yeah, because I feel for me art has a lot of kind of ideas imbued in its meaning, and these can manifest itself into the real world around us. Some artworks might be quite futuristic, and it might be just commenting on architecture and visions of what architecture could look like in the future. Artworks can embody a lot of ideas, and again, this can introduce new ways of thinking about the world around us and thinking about the society around us, and these can help shape society we live in, like culture or buildings. I feel art can also influence people's values as well. Like, if you look at my paintings, some of my paintings, my new collage paintings, I try to install values of kind of spirituality, of the unknown, because it comes from within. It comes from my personal experience of dealing with people close to my life who sadly passed away, and it got me thinking about, and those experiences are really kind of profound in my life, and I feel like I need to communicate those experiences because it got me thinking about the nature of reality, the nature of this world I'm living in, and those values can also relate to other people, because as human beings we're always thinking about, you know, what happens when we pass away. I think as humans we might think about, you know, what is this life about? So for example, that's a value that I try to install in some of my artworks, you know, the value of that kind of spiritual value, that value of kind of questioning reality, that value of thinking about what happens when we pass away, or thinking about belief and thinking about potential and those kind of things. So that's another reason art can introduce those kind of humanistic values into the world. And art can help solve problems in the world, like problems or issues such as design and architecture. You know, I just look back to my fascination with the still. I started in the Netherlands. It was an artistic movement, and it was a group of painters, sculptors, and it all came together to create ideas about design and aesthetics that could translate into architecture, and that in part influenced architecture. So it's quite incredible to think that, you know, that art had a role to play in shaping architecture, that whole kind of modern architecture, and perhaps without that movement we wouldn't have the distill that we know today, or the distill inspired architecture that we know today, or the whole kind of theme around modern architecture that we see today with, you know, geometric buildings, clean designs, because perhaps part of that stemmed from that movement So that's another way in which art can contribute to society. Another way it contributes to society is like shaping our culture, because art is a free form of expression and ideas, and culture can often work its way into artworks and be kind of regurgitated through the artwork. And that can help shape people's opinion about the country they live in, the society they live in, and instill new values and ways of seeing. You just have to look at someone like Banksy, for example, commenting upon, sometimes commenting upon British, society in the UK. He's got depictions of police in there, and so some of his work is quite dealing with the culture, the UK culture in some way, and he's just kind of regurgitating it and then letting the audience decode it in their own way and think about the culture that they live in. So that's number one. So that's how art introduces new ideas into the world. So number two on my list is art can help sustain well-being. So I discovered from this website, Dementia UK, it mentioned that the impact of the arts on people with dementia is becoming increasingly significant, and it can be a powerful way for people with dementia to not only express themselves but to also stimulate their mind, which can improve thinking ability. And I also found out from a website called medium.com that art programs, art education programs, can encourage students to be creative and use their imagination as much as possible. And I think that can be a good thing, just to stimulate people's creativity, that art can help to facilitate that. Yeah, and it goes back to, that art can improve confidence and awareness, because the act of creating art is an act of being aware. For me, I find, often I find if I create an artwork, I'm almost have this kind of aha moment, like I've just realized or discovered something. I've just either gained some kind of knowledge about the world around me or of my experience of this world, and I want to translate that into an artwork. And I think that's the power of art. It can allow people to do that, and it can stimulate the awareness of yourself, the awareness of the world around you, and it also lets us express ourselves, emotions, feelings, pain and aspirations. And I think this can be useful, as it's not always easy to openly talk about issues we may face in an open society. And I think that's another powerful thing about art, is that if you've gone through personal trauma, you can use your art to express those things without necessarily talking about those things. It's a way to kind of relieve yourself from those experiences, especially if you've been through experiences that you're not really you don't really want to openly talk about, because of the world the societies that we may live in might be quite closed, or perhaps people might not understand you, or perhaps you might not have any friends or family. You can express these things to. So that's where art comes in, because you can use art to do that, and you can use art as a platform to talk about these things. I'm just reminded of Stonehenge, because Stonehenge is a place for me that inspires new ideas, that feeds into my artworks. And I often find when I go to Stonehenge and I talk to people, the conversations are very open, because the place does not tell you how to think. It does not tell you what to do. It's a place that can open your mind to new conversations, and people are openly willing to make those conversations, even if those conversations sound crazy and absurd. You know, people might have conversations about UFOs or aliens or whatever, because the context of the place allows people to have those conversations. But if you have those conversations in the workplace or in a shopping centre, I doubt that would go down very well. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that art can provide the context, can provide the opportunity for you to have those conversations, which or for people to decode that for themselves in a safe space, in a space that's created for that conversation. Yeah, so number 3 on my list is art creates social engagements. I think there's a lot that art can do in society to create social engagements. You know, we have things like art classes, you got things like museums, you've got galleries, you've got installations. So these form part of a collective communication. I mean, every time you go into these spaces, maybe you go in by yourself, maybe you go in with friends and family, work colleagues, and these spaces can also help facilitate conversations. You know, you're having to look at the artworks on display, and you might talk to your friend, well, what do you think this one's about? And you say, oh, you know, this piece was created in the 1900s, and yeah, it's really interesting that these ideas are still very much ahead of its time, and then the conversations kind of spiral on from there. So I think, you know, that is one way that these places can create social engagements and lead us to think about, you know, things like the past, present, and the future, and to communicate with each other. These spaces, they can encourage people to engage in conversations that might not always be acceptable or normal to talk about. These could be things like culture, religion, politics, gender, identity, history, the unknown, or things about, you know, just thinking about, you know, the present day and thinking about the future. Or it can let people become more engaged in the local community, because someone might go to these places and be inspired to either work for these places and engage with people who come into these spaces, or to volunteer. Yeah, so this can be inspiring for people to want to share their experiences from these spaces to other people. And also it creates engagement around, you know, education, history, and the present and the future. Yeah, so number four on my list is art can express common values humans share. So you look at how arts can play a role in things like belief and rituals, as artworks are created to evoke meanings. And, you know, the arts does this all the time. You know, you go into a church, what you see in the church, it's all art. You know, most of it, you know, in the traditional churches anyway, and the ones that are, you know, centuries old, they're all body artworks. They're all artworks in there depicting, you know, saints and gods, with, you know, if that's like a Buddhist temple, they're all doing the same thing. They're all using art to depict a religion and to communicate beliefs and rituals and to install these values into people, whether it's for, you know, whether that's for the good or, well, hopefully for the good of humanity. So art has the power to do that, because, you know, for religion, we especially for religion, because we can't see the unseen, so we use art to do that. And art, you know, art can also relate to spirituality, again, religion, whether that's religion or or some kind of spiritual beliefs. You know, art can be a way to respond to feelings of death and how to cope with those issues and how to respond to them. It can be a conduit to, like a bridge, to think about these human things and to think about, you know, what happens when we pass on, or to think about people who have passed on and to remember those people and to or connect with our own experience and to share that with other people and to share that experience and maybe to give hope and curiosity and ways of seeing to that person. And art can also share values of human potential, and I like to do this a lot. This is one of my key values, is that I create art because as a human being I believe I have potential. I believe I have the ability to learn and to realize my potential. And then we got education. You know, art can be a good tool to educate people and to let people think of new ideas. So this is another way it can contribute to society. And then self-awareness. This is really important. You know, the art can facilitate, it can contribute self-awareness. It can get people to ask questions about the world we live in, get us to think about our desires or how to improve oneself and how to keep learning them. And this is something that art can do really well, is to help install those values of self-awareness, the ability to think for yourself, to have that mind, to want to pursue awareness, to want to learn new things and want to question things and discover things. Yeah, so anyway, that's my 4 ways art contributes to society. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this video has helped you. If you have liked it, feel free to like it, and also feel free to share this video to anyone who might be interested in watching it. Yeah, and also be interesting to know, do you think art contributes to society? Feel free to leave it in the comments below. It'd be interesting to see what you think. Yeah, and if you like these videos and you want to get exclusive members only stuff, you're more than welcome to check out my Patreon link, and I'll put that in the description below, and you'll get the opportunity to watch these videos first before they go public. And you'll get exclusive content like behind the scenes from the studio, merchandise and much more. So you're welcome to check that out in the link below. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, bye bye.